Hello, and welcome to Critically Disdained. Today, I want to talk about cover songs. Everybody has different tastes in music, and even though today my examples will be rock bands who have covered songs, I think that the points that I am going to speak about can be used across all musical genres. So let's get into it. There's a major balance that needs to be found when doing a cover song, especially when it's a song that is already a beloved classic. When an original song sucks, the artist doing the cover has a lot more room to play with when deciding on the style. There is less that they have to live up to, so they're able to just go for it and do it the way they would like to see it done. However, the challenge that comes when covering an already well-done song, or a classic that everyone knows, is that if it's too close to the original, there's no point in having a cover, such as bands covering songs that are in similar genres to their own. A good example of this would be the Plain White T's cover of the Blur song, Song 2. It's not a bad cover, it's done very well, but if you go and you listen to the original by Blur and then listen to the Plain White T's version, you will hear that they are so similar that it just becomes repetitive and boring. On the other side, if it's too different from the original, you lose the listener because it's too unfamiliar or it ends up being just bad. A good example of this would be the band Never Shout Never's cover of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. Most people are familiar with the classic from Queen. If you are not familiar, you've probably been living under a rock. But it's very hard to go up against a classic such as that, especially when the vocalist for such a song is Freddie Mercury. If you listen to the version from Never Shout Never, it doesn't even come close to being as good as the original. And if we're being completely honest, it's just bad. The best covers, however, are able to strike a balance between these 2 points. Enough of a difference to be able to be listened to separately from the original, but similar enough to be comfortably familiar. And I feel a good example of this would be 2 covers of the same song. Versa Emerge and Gob have both done covers of the Rolling Stones song Paint It Black, and both covers are excellent. Gob's version is a good straightforward punk cover that is fun and still keeps the dark feeling of the original resonating throughout, and Versa Emerge's cover is done as a male and female duet, with Sierra Kusterbeck's vocals hitting some high notes that elevate the song to a different level. Now, the types of covers that don't need to work too hard for that balance are when bands cover a song that already sucks. A prime example of this would be Woe Is Me, Cameron Mizelle's cover of Katy Perry's song Last Friday Night, TGIF. The cover is infinitely better than the original, and even though Woe Is Me is not a pop band, their version is so much more catchy than the original. It's just worlds apart from each other. There is one last type of song that I don't feel fit into these categories, and those would be songs where there's almost no way to do a good cover of the song, because changing it up is no good and doing it the same is boring because it's already been done and done well. Now, these types of songs do sometimes end up with good covers, but it's very rare, and if I were to put a percentage to it, I'd say that 99% of the time they don't end up with good covers. An example of this would be the Gilbert O'Sullivan song, Alone Again, Naturally. For this song, I've listened to an obscene amount of covers, and there's just no good covers for this song. None of them have been remotely worth listening to. That is until June 17th, 2022, 1 month ago, when the band The Dollyrots released a cover of this song. It is the first time I had ever heard a good cover of this song, putting it in the 1% of songs that fall into this category. They took this classic and turned it into a fast pop-punk song, and they absolutely killed it. But, like I said, this is a rarity that it happens with timeless classics. So to recap my thoughts, for a cover to end up good, it needs to, 1, be different enough that it's not boring, 2, similar enough to not be cringy, and 3, you could just pick a song that already sucks and make it better. If you're looking for some good rock and punk covers, I'm curating a covers playlist on Spotify, which I will link to below. Some of the best covers that have been produced throughout the years are from the Punk Goes album series released by Fearless Records. I revisit their series frequently. They're some of the best covers on the market, and I love listening to them. And you'll find some of those on the playlist that I will link to. I will also try to link through YouTube the song examples that I used in this video, so you can go and listen and compare for yourself. If you like this review, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on the socials. I can be found on most platforms under the handle Half Eaten Salad. And lastly, you can follow me on Spotify, where I'm constantly creating and updating music playlists. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you here next time on Critically Disdained.